Hey guys, it's been a while since I've posted anything on my channel here. Been a little bit busy with work and other activities. Yeah, but I want to go ahead and share a Labrynth deck that I've been playing for a bit now since whenever I get a chance to play. Last event I went to was about maybe a month ago, and that was during the height of Fiendsmith. Well, at least before they were like completely their fusion or whatever got hit. So I didn't really have too much experience playing against Fiendsmith, but the locals I went to had about, I don't know, almost everyone was playing Fiendsmith at that point. Four different Fiendsmith deck was what I played against. So, and I'll be honest, I don't really remember all their effects. I don't play enough to remember their combo lines. But I think despite that, the deck did really well against the Fiendsmith variations that I played. So yeah, I just want to talk about the deck a little bit. So let's break down the decks that I did play against and what I remember. I remember playing my first round was playing against Fiendsmith, Snake Eye, Fire King sort of deck. So it was like, I think I went 2-1 on that game, or maybe I went 2-0. I don't remember, but I remember winning that first game. Game two or match two, I played against Fiendsmith, Dark Synchros, I guess. I think they were playing the Archfiend, Red Archfiend structure deck and the Fiendsmith engine and a couple other things. It was kind of a cool deck, but my deck was pretty good against that one. I think I 2-0 that game. Now I don't remember if I went first or second in some of those games. I'm pretty sure I lost most of the die roll, so I went second for the most part, but I was still able to win because I had enough hand traps and interaction during their turn that I basically was able to um, choke point. Like I found the choke point and choked them out, so they couldn't really advance their board too well. Then my turn came around and I did, was able to just set up control from there. Game three, I played against. Let me try to remember here. Um, it was, I think, Fiendsmith Muskets or Magic Muskets. I think it was the deck. I think that deck was pretty popular. I think that's the deck that at that time, I think Joshua Smith was playing. If I'm not incorrect, I think he was playing that at Pasadena. The Magic Musket Fiendsmith. So I played against that one. I believe it went 2-1 on that one, or maybe 2-0. I don't quite remember, but I remember winning that game or that match. And in the final round, I played against Fiendsmith Malice, I think. And that one I got 2-0, 0-2. So that one I didn't really, wasn't really prepared against Malice. I didn't really understand how the deck worked. And it was my first time playing against them. So um, that deck was a little hard to combat. And I was just trying to figure out where their choke point was, but I wasn't really familiar with it. And that deck is really good because if you're trying to fight against the Fiendsmith engine and you stop the Fiendsmith engine, their mouse engine is like a bunch of one card, two card like combos. So like it was really hard to play against them and understand how to really counter them at that point. I didn't play against any Raziel, so I have no experience playing against Raziel decks. So I'm not sure if this particular version of Labrynth is going to be good against them, but I did side some cards against them, and I'll talk about that in the side later. Now, the side I have here is not the same side I used when I was playing in that tournament. It's been updated and with a couple new different cards. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the deck. Now, the deck's pretty basic in terms of I think the cards that I've been playing with and been playing with it for a while. So nothing too new or crazy there. I'm playing a total of 43 cards, which I found to actually be okay. Like your hands are almost always going to be the same. It's always going to be mostly traps and a couple monsters here and there, and a couple of interactions here and there. So for the most part, like it's a pretty consistent hand going first, and a pretty relatively consistent hand going second. Being that we're a trap deck, going second is definitely worse off for us because we're gonna have to find a way to break their board with a bunch of trap cards, and that does take it takes more navigating to do than if you were going first. All right, so first card here. I'm just gonna go through the Labrynth engine pretty quick. Nothing's really changed too much. So we have one lovely and two ladies. I went back and forth between one and two ladies. I think I just ended up liking two ladies. It just allows me for more explosive OTKing turns. If my opponents get choked out and I'm going second or something, I'm able to set up a bunch of traps with the furnitures. I can just, if their board is relatively empty, I'm just able to just push through a bunch of damage. But obviously she's not that great, you know, with um, she's not that great by herself, but with two of them on the board, it's a pretty difficult board to break through. So I've liked two. I played one, and I always kind of missed the second one, being able to put more bodies on the board that are big. Since we're not really going to our extra deck all that much, I just wanted more powerful plays, more, I guess, a stronger board rather than having like just one lady and one lovely out. I want rather have something like being able to have maybe potentially two ladies, or lovely and lady, or just all three out, just to push for game and damage. So hence why I'm playing the second. And I understand that, you know, it's just personal choice there. Then we have three Arias. I think you just have to play her in this format. She's the only way. She's the real way to give us sort of like a another hand trap per se, other than playing something like Nibiru or Droll and Lockbird. Um, you know, so I think Arias is kind of just at this point, a three of in the deck. Then we also have three Ariana. Not really too much to talk about. As for the furniture, it's just the three Chandelier, three Stovey, and the one Clue Clock. Not too much to talk about there. And then our final monsters are just the three Ash Blossom. You could play Nibiru in nowadays, but I feel like Nibiru is still a really good card, but it may be a little bit weaker against something like Fiendsmith if they're able to just get out the Caesar or any of the other fusions and whatnot. Nibiru may struggle a little bit to clear the board when they have that out. But it's still a good hand trap, so if you do play it, Labrynth is one of the best decks to play it in, simply because you can combo it off with your furniture. You can activate Nibiru, discard it with one of your furnitures, and then they get nothing, and you get a trap. So Nibiru is still pretty good card. I just chose not to play it because for space purposes here, as you'll see. Playing three Extravagance, I went back to playing the Extravagance version instead of playing the Punishment version. I didn't like Punishment too much as a trap card, namely because there's just a lot of stuff that just floats, and just getting rid of one thing doesn't really help. And dumping, it's nice to be able to dump stuff to your graveyard with Punishment and trigger off the monster, but sometimes they can dodge Punishment, and it's kind of annoying when you're kind of relying on Punishment to be able to send a monster, and if they dodge that, or the monster has some sort of form of protection, then Punishment doesn't really do too much. So I end up just cutting Punishment and playing Extravagance here just to have more draw engine, or just more card draw in general, and obviously being a nice Ash bait, and the fact that I can just make my entire extra deck utility to whatever I wanted to. So I've been liking the Avarice build versus the Punishment build. And then finally, our last spell here is just the field spell, Labrynth. As for the Labrynth Trap itself, I'm still playing three of each. You can obviously cut the regular Welcome Labrynth down to two. I like it at three because you're playing Traptrick, and I like the ability to be able to always have that option to activate Traptrick. If I already drew one Welcome Labrynth, I'd like to have a second copy in my deck just to be able to use with Traptrick. So hence, let me just go and pull out Traptrick here. Traptrick has just been a great card. It basically is any of your traps in your entire deck that you want, which is really great. I think that's just invulnerable or invaluable nowadays, just being able to, for this card to become anything that you want and anything that you need at the time. And that's just really good. And it works well with Lady too. Like if they try to chain block you with, it's hard to chain block when you have Traptrick out. Just because if you're trying to go for a Welcome Labrynth, you can always activate this. They're not gonna be able to ash it, right? So you can chain set something with Lovely or sorry, lady here, and then activate the big welcome. And if they ash that, they ash that. You still at least get one trigger off of the lady there. So Traptrick, really good card, works really well with RES. If you have dead copies in your hand, you can always pitch it, but it's so powerful that it can become anything that you want when you need it. Is really really good. Next off, for the rest of the hand traps here, we have three Dominus and three Impulse. Now, Dominus is the newest card to my deck here. Um, I was judging and I got a bunch of packs. I forgot what pack this came out of. Let me take a look. I think it was... I don't remember what pack this was, but I got a bunch of judge packs for judging. And then I pulled one of these, and I pulled, I think, a Mochami. So I sold the Mochami for like 120 bucks or whatever. And then I bought two more Impulse. So that's basically why I have three Impulse here. One of the best hand traps, I think, works really well against 90% of the meta out there. Just being able to negate their summon and potentially destroy the card is really, really good. The only deck I think this card is not that great against is probably going to be Rizio, because most of their summons are, I believe, inherent summons, so they don't really trigger anything, so you can't really negate their summons with Impulse, but against every other deck, Malice, Blue Eyes, at least Blue Eyes is released nowadays, right? Blue Eyes, yeah, any other deck, I think Impulse is really good against, and you don't really ever need any of the other effects. The only card I think the Impulse doesn't work well with is like if you're playing Nibiru, hence why I'm also not playing Nibiru, because I'm playing the Impulse, so I'm a little afraid of playing Nibiru. So I'm playing, you can't play Nibiru that well, you can't play Effect Bearer that well, and you can't play Artifact Lancia that well with Impulse. You still can, it's just a little bit riskier. If you draw Impulse first and you use it, then if you have Lancia and Nibiru in your deck, they basically become dead cards. Not the worst thing, because you do have the furniture to pitch those dead cards for other resources. But just keep in mind that it depends on how you build your deck, right? I prefer not having to think about not being able to use those effects when I do use the Impulse. So hence why I'm not playing Nibiru or the Lances in my side deck, which I'll talk about in a second here. Then last off, we have just the triple Karma Cannon and double Rollback. Rollback is completely unnecessary. You don't really need this card. It's really good when it is good, and it's bad when it's bad. So it's just one of those high roller cards. Plus the fact that you do give up half your life points, so it's a little risky to use sometimes, especially if you're running into time issues. If you're on game 3, you need to rush it. Rollback here can be detrimental. So, if you're going to game 3, you may just want to side this out, even if you're going first. But, I mean, it's really powerful in the sense that it saves you from being punished by Ash. So if you, ditch this with having this in the graveyard and then activating Big Welcome, if they Ash that, and it's not the end of the world, you can still use this and recover your resources from your graveyard. So being able to double Big Welcome in a turn is really good. Or if not, you can double Karma Cannon. If you use one Karma Cannon and they still extend off, and you can just copy it with the rollback, and it shuts down their turn. And speaking of which, Karma Cannon, I would say, is probably the best trap in the game right now. It does so much for everything. Does so much, gets rid of boss monsters, flips your opponent's entire board face down, like basically a Book of Eclipse essentially. Granted, it's a slower Book of Eclipse, but it's really really powerful. It's just being able to shut down all of that monster plays. Probably pretty good against Blue Eyes. If you can use this before they can go off, then they're kind of stuck on the board. Let's say they summon out Blue Eyes White Dragon plus Maiden of White, and you use this during that time. It flips down the Maiden, flips down the Blue Eyes. Now they're kind of stuck with a face down Blue Eyes on the board that they can't really do anything with. They can't extend any further unless they have Silver Cry or whatever. Just having that trapped, that stuck on the board basically kind of ends their turn. That it's harder for them to go off. But yeah, it's just one of those powerful cards. Definitely, great going first, and still going second. Still really really good card. Okay, and then let's go ahead and talk about this side deck here. Or actually, let's go to the extra deck first. So get that out of the way. So for extra deck, basically it's just kind of utility cards and Cards that I do summon out a lot of, I will play either 2 to 3 copies. And the reason why you play 2 to 3 copies is you're playing Extravagance, and you just need extra additional copies of those. First off, we have Underworld Goddess, just a card that you can use to get rid of a monster that you might not be able to deal with. Because we have Karma Cannon, she hasn't really seen that much play, but she's just great sometimes if you just need to be able to get rid of an opponent's monster and maybe stop them from bringing stuff out of the grave, or if you just need to negate their board or something. She's pretty decent at that. You got 2 Muttcracker. You do use her quite a bit sometimes, especially with Chaos Angel. She works really well with. So 2 to 3 copies I would recommend of her. Then we have 2 SP Little Knights. I don't really summon them out too much, mainly because if we're playing Welcome Labyrinth, we're kind of locked into Fiends most of the time. So sometimes it's a little difficult to bring her out. But if you're able to bring her out, then she's a good solid removal, solid interruption. So overall, just an annoying card there. We have 1 Dark, just to take a Dark monster and then potentially go into SP. Same idea with these 3 cards. I'll just put them all out. So these are just kind of like your utility link monsters. So this is just going, if you're gonna go to main phase 2, you can go into her and then go into SP. Or if you need a spellcaster for some reason, if your opponent's playing Secret Village against you, I don't know why they would. You can go into her and still be able to use her spells. Not that it really matters too much. Dark is dark, you can kind of link climb into SP per se, or into a Underworld Goddess if you needed to, or just stealing their good dark monsters. And then Anima is just another tech choice here. People will still put their monsters in the zone, right in the zone next to the extra deck zone sometimes, and it's just kind of funny to snipe out that monster with like a Chandelier, because Chandelier is always reoccurring to be added back to your hand or special summon, so you can always get this out just to steal a one of their monsters. And then last off here we have basically a Babushka, and then triple Typhoon here. Now, I don't think you really need triple Typhoon, but I just had space, so I just threw in triple. And you do summon this out quite a bit, so it's nice to have 3 copies if you're playing Extravagance, because sometimes you will banish 2 copies. Nice to have a third one. Babushka here, don't really use him too much, but I suppose if you're against a deck that requires spamming a bunch of summons, using their normal monsters or effect monsters to like link climb or exceed or whatever, nice to have a Babushka as just a shutdown for that turn. And I have summoned him a few times, not too much. Summon him against something like Branded, they'll have a tough time getting over him. So yeah, just a tech choice there. And finally, you just have 3 Chaos Angels. This is the card I bring out the most, if anything. So I think having 3 copies of him is pretty good. Bring him out with 2 plus 8 or 4 plus 6. So there's a bunch of those number combinations in your deck. So I don't see a reason why not to play at least 2 copies. I was playing 1 copy if you're playing the punishment version of the deck, but because of playing Extravagance version, it may as well play 3 copies there. All right, let's talk about the extra, or not the extra, side deck real quick, and then that will be it. So for side deck options, I have 1 Lava Golem. I don't know if this is the best card to play right now in this particular format. I need to still test this out. I was going to play this against Brazil just to get rid of their detonator and whatnot. Other options we have here instead of Lava Golem is you have Ultimate Slayer or Exceed Encore to play against Exile, or to play against Rizio or anything else. So Ultimate Slayer, pretty good because our entire extra deck is just fodder. So the only card you can't really get rid of is Fusion, because we don't play any Fusion in the deck. If you're playing the punishment version of the deck, then I definitely think playing 3 copies of Slayer might be a good thing in the side. But because I'm not playing punishment, I don't really have super great targets against Fusion. But you can still definitely get rid of Rizio stuff with the Exceed here. You can get rid of some Blue Eye stuff with the Chaos Angel by sending Chaos Angel, or against Malice you have a bunch of copies of Link monsters that you don't really necessarily need. You can always send to the graveyard with Ultimate Slayer and just bounce those cards. So Ultimate Slayer, I think, is a good choice for um, as a side deck option, but I don't have more copies right now for whatever reason. So I would try it out if you want something like a budget good removal. So I'm playing Lava Golem, and see, Encore is also pretty niche, pretty narrow in its use. You can only really use this against Rizio. The fact that Blue Eyes is now a meta deck, I don't know if this card is worth still playing in the side deck, but it is an option there to go ahead and do that. Next off, I have two Chaos Hunters. Maybe even play three might be a good idea. This is mostly against Malice, since Malice is a top tier contender of the format, and they're getting more support in the future. And because we can't play Lancia, this is the reason why I'm playing Chaos Hunter. And Chaos Hunter is nice in the sense that it does get rid of our dead cards in our hand too, kind of like a furniture. I just don't know if I want to play 3 copies. I think 2 copies is decent, just to stop them from being able to banish. Really, really good there. It can be played over. It can be beaten over. It can be veilered. It can be imperm. So those are the weaknesses of Chaos Hunter. But at the same time, it's also a 25 beater, so they have to try to beat over it for whatever reason. And the fact that you have Karma Cannon and other trap cards to kind of protect it, hopefully that's enough. But if not, then so I would say still a decent card. The main weakness of this card is the fact that you have to discard a card. So if you're low on resources, may not be the best card to play. So that's why I recommend playing the Extravagance, just to build up your hand with a bunch of cards and be able to use it to discard for something like the Furniture, Mud Rock or Mudcracker, Chaos Hunter. Yeah, so it's options there. Then next off we have just 2 Phantasme and 3 Bystrials. The Phantasmes, I don't know if they're good against Malice, I'll be honest. I did side against Malice in that one game, but when I did use it, he had Ash Blossom, so it didn't really get to work the way I wanted it to work. But I still think it's a relatively decent card against them. I don't know if these are, should be played versus playing something like Ultimate Slayer or Exceed Encore or something else, or maybe more Lava Golem, but that's assuming that we go second, right? And Phantasme is still a decent card going second. You can put a body on the board and try to protect yourself from being targeted by the Malice monsters. Bystrials, really not much to explain about them. They're still a solid side deck choice there. And then we have for spell trap removal, Harpies, and then we have 2 Cosmic Cyclones. And then finally, for the rest of the side deck, we have Dimensional Barrier and Full Force Virus. D-Barrier, not much to explain there. Full Force Virus, it depends on your matchup. Sometimes it's a really good card, sometimes it's mediocre. But it's one of those cards that, if used correctly, it can be a blowout. Against something like, I don't know, if Evil Eyes or what's that? The level 2 decks, the Sprites, I guess. If Sprites were still really popular, this card would definitely be really good against them. And that's basically it, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my Labrynth deck there. It's been a while since I've posted anything. I know I've been just really busy with work and doing other things at the moment, and so I haven't really got a chance to really play Yu-Gi-Oh! But since the Blue Eyes deck has come out, I'm going to go ahead and try to play a little bit more. I am building Blue Eyes right now. I have the ability to build the Invoke version and the Buster Blader version. I didn't really pick up any Primite cards when they were cheap, so I'm not really going to bother picking up Primite cards now. And I don't think I would really enjoy playing the Primite version deck all that much. We'll see, but I'll go ahead and post a build of my Invoke deck, Invoke Blue Eyes, in a bit here. But yeah, I just want to give you guys a rundown of the my Labrynth deck. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.